Good morning. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now, Kentucky. We do have an update for you regarding tomorrow, impactful winter storm event. Before I take my headset off there, I was listening to music before the broadcast. Welcome on in. Good morning. Of course, as always, we'll give it a couple minutes before we get started. Some of the notifications are faster or slower for some folks, depending upon connection. So, again, we always try to give it a few minutes before we dive into the information. Of course, make sure you're saying hello as you come in. Good morning, Mike. How are you, my friend? As always, look, you guys are already on it. I'm training you guys up nice and well. Look at this. We already get the shares going up on the broadcast. You guys know how that goes. Of course, as you're coming into the streams on both YouTube and Facebook, we're live on both platforms. Share the broadcast out. Get this information out to your newsfeed so that way your friends and family can view it. And so it helps us spread our information out as well because, again, a lot of weird information going out there once again. So we want to make sure we're setting the story straight and getting everyone the accurate information as much as possible. You guys have no idea how much you help with that. You guys are amazing with the shares. So again, I know to start the broadcast really whenever we get to about 75 shares. That's usually about the time I know it's good to start the broadcast. I've done this enough. I know kind of when the go time is. So again, if you're just not tuning in here with us, good morning to you. The calm before the storm, if you will. Make sure you say hello as you come in so I can greet you. Laura, Lisa, Maddie, Sierra, Sandy, Terry over there on Facebook. Good morning. How are you? Over on YouTube, Dylan, Jesse, Renji, Dana, Trey. Good morning. How are you guys? And once again, don't forget to hit that share button on the bottom portion of your screen. If you're on Facebook, that shares the video on your news feed so that way your friends and family can view it and help us spread our information out. So thank you for helping us with that. Thank you for helping your friends and family. Thank you for all the likes on both YouTube and Facebook already. Seen a bunch of likes rolling this morning. I'm glad you guys are liking all the broadcasts that we're doing. Haley, Robbie, William, Troy, Dustin, Sierra, Lori, Michael, and so many more. They're flying through there. Thank you guys for all the shares on the broadcast. I like that I can see who shares it too. That's really, really cool. Thank you. Kara, good morning. How are you? Carolyn, good morning. Sandy, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Misty, good morning to you. Cindy and Melissa over on YouTube, good morning, as well as Chelsea. Again, if you're just not tuning in here, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with W&K. We do have an update for you regarding um, probably our I wouldn't say biggest, but our most impactful winter event in recent memory. Um, again, I want to make sure we're diving into all information. We're going to show you model data. We're going to show you our forecast and show you where the current watches and warnings and advisories are set up via WeatherWise. So we got all that stuff ready for you. We're just going to give it about another 30 seconds. Again, we like to give everyone 2 to 3 minutes to get in here, get settled in, get the shares rolled out, and then we kind of know it's time at that point. Cameron, just to touch base on that real quickly, you got to remember. So, for example, in your situation, Cameron, where you're talking about Barron County and Hart County. So the reason that Hart County got included in the winter storm warning, I guess from my perspective, I don't put the warnings and stuff out, but from my perspective, would be the northern side of that county. So even if it's just one side of the county, you have to include all the county in the warning. You can't just say the warnings for northern Hart. It's going to have to end up being for all of Hart County, even if it's just for the northern side. Hey, Stacy, how are you? Ashton, good morning to you. Darla, good morning. Lisa, hello. Lex on YouTube, hello. All right, I think we're good there. A few more shares and we'll go on through here. The reason the shares are so important to me, one, it helps us obviously, but number two, it helps us set the story straight. Right, we have so much misinformation going around. I've even seen like forecasts from like 8 or 9 years ago getting shared, and people claiming that it's the forecast for this event. So it has been my goal the last 48 hours or so to really, really be locked in on sharing all of our information because you'd be amazed. I mean, I still have people messaging me as of this morning, thinking that 15 inches of snow are coming because of a forecast that got posted 8 years ago and being reshared as a current forecast. I mean, it is amazing. Thank you guys for all the likes on the broadcast. I appreciate you with doing that as well. Let's go ahead and start getting into some of this information. I will take some questions at the end. Of course, I'm probably going to avoid answering every single zip code because genuinely, guys, we put you all over the map. You just look at the maps and you guys will see where you're at and see what's going on here. All right, here is the WeatherWise radar. We're going to look at this for the broadcast. So I can see for the current watches and warnings. Lots of colors out there. Lots of colors out there. Now, a lot of these are the same thing, but it's yet to update a little bit. Lots of colors out here. So as far left side, where I've been calling it dark purple, guys. I want you guys to know whenever I tell you what the color keys are, I'm not Bob Ross. I don't know what all the color wheels are. Okay, I just go with what my eyes are seeing, what my eyes might be a little bit different than your eyes. Thank you guys for all your star donations, by the way, as well. Appreciate you. An ice storm warning does exist for that far western portion of the state, basically from Madisonville to Morganfield to Salem to Marion, Princeton, and western Kentucky. A winter weather advisory down here in this light blue area from Murray to Mayfield to Clinton. A winter weather advisory does also exist from Bowling Green, Edmonton, Glasgow, Hopkinsville, Cadiz. I know I'm saying that town incorrectly. I always do. I need to just stop saying it. But basically, this whole southern row of counties will end up being under a winter weather advisory. And then to the north, basically north of the parkways. We've been saying this for, goodness, guys, since Thursday, right? When we did our first broadcast. Well, Wednesday, since we did our first broadcast. North of the parkways, north of the parkways, north of the parkways, north of the parkways. That's where all your warnings and stuff are set up now. This pink is your winter storm warning. So the difference between a winter storm watch and a winter storm warning. Winter storm watch is we have the ingredients, the potential is there within the next 3 days. A winter storm warning means the confidence is rising in this event, and we do expect impacts. So again, winter storm warnings, basically, I mean, look at the span of this, by the way, when I zoom this out. Look at the span of this storm. All the way from Montana, all the way down through Kansas, and then all the way through us, all the way through the Metro DC area, and so on and so forth. I mean, this thing is massive, a massive winter storm. So, let's say it does shift, right? Let's say we're wrong about this. Don't be mean on me. Let's just say we got lucky, all right? I don't see it happening, but so I just want to put that out there. Anyway, winter storm warnings do exist. I want to make a real quick note as well that a winter storm warning does not necessarily mean or only can be issued for snowfall. It can be issued for the combination of freezing rain, sleet, and snowfall, and the impact from that combination. All right? The reason there's a winter storm warning here and an ice storm warning in Owensboro, Morganfield, Madisonville is, I guess, the National Weather Service in Paducah feels that snow is not going to be an impact here and only wants to warn for the ice. Me personally, I would have put out a winter storm warning here instead of an ice storm warning because I do believe that snowfall will also occur here on the backside. So you might see an ice storm warning at first, and they might switch us to a winter weather advisory down the road. That seems real hairy. I think it's very simple for the general public if you just put the winter storm warning out. Just make it even with everything else there. Again, I can't disagree with it because technically they are right. But I do think snow and sleet do become an impact at some point, especially on the backside. So, that said, let's go into the model data, and then we'll show you our forecast. Here's the model data. I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you the North American model. And if we get enough time, I'll show you some of the other models that might be rolling in right now. So, this is the North American model. It has done not a little shifting. There really hasn't been much shifting to occur. What's changed a little bit, let's say overnight, if you will, is the winning or losing of the cold air. So you'll see what I mean by that here in a second. This is the regional view right now. When we talk about totals from this model, I'll zoom it into the local view. All right, let's go ahead and cue this on forward. This is valid for Sunday at about 5 to 6 a.m. You'll see the timing's still pretty consistent on things. So for those of you wondering about timing, it'll enter Western Kentucky between about 4 to 6 a.m. Eastern Time, Central Kentucky at about 5 to 7 a.m. Eastern Time, Eastern Kentucky about 6 to 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So there's your start times for everybody. If you don't know what West, Central, and East is, you literally just look at the map here. Left side is West, Central is the middle, East side is far right. So pretty simple stuff there. Advancing this forward, this is valid for Sunday at about 10 a.m. This is when things really get ramping up in our state. So yes, it enters at the earlier time frame, but 10 a.m. Eastern Time is the time that it really begins to ramp up. That's the time that you probably want to just go ahead and return to your homes and stay there. All right, you're not going to want to drive in this messy stuff. So, shows a rainbow of colors throughout our state. Blue is obviously your snow. Purple is your sleet. Red or orange, whatever you want to call that. Peach. Some people called it magnolia the other day or something like that. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, that indicates freezing rain. All right, I do think on this model it's overplaying the sleet. All right, the trend has been toward more sleet, but I think the reason that models are doing that is they're giving too much credit to the cold air at the bottom portion of the ground. I think the trend towards sleet would absolutely be helpful, and I'm rooting for that, and I would love to be wrong about the freezing rain, but it just a gut feeling. I've seen this story before in Kentucky. I think this is more of a freezing rain and snow. Will there be a period of sleet in between those two? Absolutely. but I don't think it's as long or as wide as the North American model is showing. So just to put that context out there, I'm going to go ahead and skip this on forward to about noon here. You'll see it's heavy snow ongoing at this point, basically around I-64 to points north. And then in central Kentucky, again, it shows that sleet. I think this is more freezing rain. And then down here in southwestern Kentucky, it does show a full-on ice storm at this point. I advance this forward to about Sunday at about 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. The heavier snow is now pushing off to eastern Kentucky. You can see why the heavier snow totals that we expect are going to be in this area. Just an onslaught of snowfall at this point. My concern for this is, yes, on this model, the freezing rain is technically lighter. That is the exact opposite of what we want. So, I know it sounds weird. Let me break that down for you, okay? In the wintertime, when we do get that freezing rain, we want that to actually be heavy freezing rain. The reason for that is heavy freezing rain is obviously heavier, and those raindrops will pass through the power lines and trees a lot easier and get down to the ground. You know, it being on the ground is one thing. If we're stuck in our homes, we're stuck in our homes. You know, that's one thing, okay? But when it begins to sit on trees, when it begins to sit on power lines, and then you have wind gusts coming through during or after the storm of 20 or 30 mile per hour like we will, you will absolutely see damages to trees, and those trees could fall over on power lines. Power lines themselves could snap, right? So again, we're almost rooting for it. If it's going to happen, right, and we know it will, we're almost rooting for the heavier side of freezing rain. We do not want the freezing drizzle. We don't want to go out. If you look out your window and you see light stuff and you think, oh, this is not too bad, that is the exact opposite of what we want. All right? I'm hoping I'm clear on that. We want the heavy. If it's going to freezing rain, might as well be heavy and just get it all down to the ground, right? Like I said, if we're stuck in our house for a few days, we're stuck in our house for a few days. The last thing we want to do is not have power in that house for a few days. So, just make that very clear. Advancing this forward here, this is valid for Sunday around rush hour. You can see it's a full-on ice storm at this point from basically I-64 to the western Kentucky parkways. Sleet or snow is ongoing to the north of I-64, maybe some freezing rain mixing in with that. Again, I think this model is going to struggle with precipitation type. This is what we refer to as a warm bias model, which basically means that this model tends to show warmer than what actually happens. All right? So, again, this is a warm bias model, which again would indicate more sleet, but in reality, I think it indicates more freezing rain. So again, just as some more added context, for those of you that like to look at the models, this is a warm bias model. Advancing this forward to Sunday late, around 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. Again, you're looking at the time frame there, you're still seeing a lot of freezing rain. I still think this is freezing rain and or snow up here in the northern portions of the state. And at this point, now we're approaching the 9 hours mark on the freezing rain. So that is a long duration event at that point. Again, you see the concern. I do believe that at some point late on Sunday, between maybe 9 p.m. to midnight or so, I do believe that much of the state will actually go above freezing, which will give our road crews a little bit of a window to absolutely just hammer the salt down on the roads. And the problem to that is we are absolutely going to go back to below freezing within a 6-hour period. So you almost have to pick your poison, right? Do you throw the salt down on the road, let it melt, right? Let it all melt. But then when we go back to below freezing and we go back to below 25 degrees, right? Now you got that refreezing. Now you've got black ice. Now you've got snow that's going to be coming on the backside. It's going to get on top of that black ice, right? You got freezing drizzle. Inside of these dry slots that we see, for example, where my cursor's kind of circling around now, that's a dry slot. However, there's so much precipitation with this that inside of that dry slot, we know that light freezing drizzle is probably going to continue to occur. So it's almost a pick your poison type of thing. I feel bad for these road crews. I feel bad for the decision makers out there, because it's like you lean one way and it's going to go the other way, and vice versa. So again, we will, but I do want to make it clear, and I'll go ahead and show you the temperatures. Let me zoom this into the local view for you here so you can see a little bit better. All right. So again, this is valid for 6 a.m. on Sunday. You'll see the cold air is in place. That's why we know this will likely start as snow. Okay, a very heavy snowfall. All right, and then advance this on forward. We keep the cold air with us, but look what happens down there in Bowling Green at 9 p.m. Eastern time. 38 degrees. I will tell you that Some models actually have Bowling Green going all the way up to almost 60 degrees in the middle of the storm. Okay, hence why this bottom row of counties is not included in the winter storm warning. All right, but some models do have this. I mean, even right here, you can see for yourself 42 degrees, 42 degrees, 40 degrees. It will get warm for a period. So if we get to tomorrow night and you look at your app and it says 36 degrees outside, right? And you're like, oh my goodness, they were wrong about this forecast once again. Making it clear now, we do expect this to go above freezing at some point for most folks south of the parkways. North of the parkways, you should ride the freezing line or stay below freezing. All right. Advancing this forward to about 10 p.m. Eastern time, I want to show you that at 11 p.m. Eastern time, it does have Elizabethtown going above freezing just slightly, but it's there. It's there. 1 degree can make all the difference in the world. You could absolutely have a scenario. Let's pick on Hardin County for an example. It's my home county, so I know a little bit better. Let's say Ratcliffe is 32 degrees, and then let's say Elizabethtown is 33 degrees, right? That 1 degree means the absolute difference scientifically between a freezing rain and a regular rain. That's how much of a headache. This is why I don't have a hairline anymore, okay? That is how much of a headache we're talking about here. When I say parkways, by the way, I mean the general parkways that everyone knows and loves down here in the southern portion of the state that runs through the middle of the state. All right? So again, 1 degree can make all the difference in the world. Absolutely in this event. Advancing this forward, again, we do go above freezing, and then watch the drop back down. So it's like, again, it's a pick your poison type of event. So again, it's a pick your poison type of event. I want to kind of get this back onto the actual imagery here. You'll see that it stays as freezing rain from about, even with that going above freezing, it's still showing freezing rain in E-Town. So the model's kind of struggling a little bit. Advancing us forward to around the midnight time frame, you'll see now we transferred to more of that light stuff. Low pressure is down here situated in Clarksville, Tennessee. If this low pressure is more north, well, that means Bowling Green will absolutely go up toward 60 degrees. That means E-Town would absolutely go up toward 40 degrees. The more north this low pressure comes, the more warm air that's able to surge up into Kentucky. So again, if this big red L right here, if I tell you it's more north tomorrow, that means more warm air is in place. If I tell you it's more south tomorrow, that means more cold air is in place. So where that low pressure tracks and how strong it is absolutely just, I can't explain. You didn't have to say that, yeah, I know, I like to have a little fun. But I can't explain to you how fine the margins are with this storm, guys. Again, so if your favorite forecaster, even if it's not me, if your favorite forecaster is wrong about the storm, take it easy on them. Because this is an absolute complex. And it's a mega storm complex. It sounds like a clickbait title, but it really, really is. So, advancing this forward here, you'll see the low pressure now is situated in Bowling Green and tends to start to scoot off east. As that happens, this low pressure should strengthen and it will allow for some backside snow to occur on Monday morning. So now we started at snow. We went to a freezing rain. Or we started at snow, right, on Sunday morning. We went to a period of 1 to 2 hours of sleet. We went to a period of 8 to 10 hours of freezing rain. We're now going to a period of backside snow. It's a mess, an absolute mess. Advance this forward to 8 a.m. Central Time on Monday, an absolute onslaught of snow according to this model. Now, again, I don't think it's going to be this big. So this model has snowfall on the backside, basically all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana, to Missouri, back down toward Tennessee. I don't think it's that big. But, no, this is the North American model. This is the NAM, Stacy. So, advancing this forward, just kind of showing you throughout the day, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday, noon to 1 p.m. Again, as that low pressure scoots east, the snow showers will become stronger, hence why you're seeing the darker blues over central Kentucky now. Out toward the eastern portions of the state, again, at this point, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, heavier snows basically along the I-64 corridor and north, some lighter snows to the south, so on and so forth. Here is, I'm going to show you the totals from this model. Here is the freezing rain, all right? Again, kind of has the heaviest situated just along I-64 and to the south. If you look at our freezing rain forecast that we posted from yesterday at 5 p.m., it's along I-64 and to the south. So I think our forecast for the ice, at least, is absolutely on point at this time. I will not change our ice forecast at this point. Our snow forecast, on the other hand, might change. Jessica, there's no... There could be some severe weather well to our south, but there will be no severe weather in our state. No. there might be a few lightning strikes, which may lead to some thunder sleet and thunder snow, and thunder freezing rain, but it will not lead to there will not be any chance for tornadoes here. Total snowfall. I'm going to use Kuchera because the Kuchera in this situation would be more accurate. All right. So here's the snowfall totals from this model. Now this is a bit aggressive. I don't think Paducah ends up with 2 inches out of this. I don't think Bowling Green ends up with 1 inch out of this. Again, we know those places are going to warm up to about 45 degrees at some point. All right. When that happens, I don't think we're talking about snowfall over an inch. Maybe a dusting up to an inch. Over an inch, I don't think so. Does show Elizabethtown at about 3 inches. Just north in the Radcliffe shows it at about 4 inches up in Radcliffe. Up in the Louisville area does show about 6 inches, 6 inches in Lexington, and then of course more to the north where we saw those heavier snows, and so on and so forth. So there's the snow forecast from that model. Here's our snow forecast. Pretty similar. Our biggest zone is a little bit more north than what that model showed. And then we do have a 3 to 6 inch zone basically along the I-64 corridor, just to the north and to the south. And then a 1 to 3 inch zone basically from Pikeville to E-Town to Litchfield to Owensboro to Madisonville. And then to the south, a dusting to about an inch. All right. So our snow forecast is not very far off, and it's not far enough off for us to warrant changing right now. It is a little bit off. But again, we do have what 18 hours till this thing starts. So we have a little bit of time to change this a little bit. I think generally though, it's pretty spot on. Our ice one, I was amazed with how spot on it was at this point. Okay. So that said, I don't think we're going to change too much of that. I do want to take a real quick look at this. This is a brand new model run just coming in. I'm just going to scoot through it real fast with you here. Make sure this is showing the same thing. It didn't just suddenly change. Okay, so that's the same thing. So generally, this is pretty similar to what we just looked at the name. So this is the icon model. It's just another model. But it does also show it as starting as a snow and freezing rain, basically almost in the same spot as the NAM. And then it has low pressure in northwestern Tennessee, brings it up to about the Bowling Green area, just a little bit to the south, a little bit of a dry slot, and then the backside snow on Monday. So very, very, very similar stuff here. Very, very, very similar stuff on that model run as to what we just saw there. I do also want to take a look at this model real quick here. Just give me 1 second. Just make sure, again, nothing changed. So this is the RDPS. It's classically a little bit colder. It's a Canadian model, so it is going to be a little bit colder. So it does show a little bit more snowfall. Also has that thick layer of sleet. I don't know if it's gonna be that big. Hey, listen, we're rooting for sleet at this point. We're rooting for sleet. We're rooting for snow. What we're not rooting for is freezing rain. So if we're wrong on our forecast about the freezing rain, I will absolutely be okay with that. All right. Just looking at this again. Again, the same thing. Has that stalling out in the western portions of Tennessee. Low pressure is a little bit more south than what we saw in the other models. Just kind of looking. Just shows the backside snow as well. Let's look at the totals from this model. Again, this is a model, not our forecast. Don't yell at me. Yeah, right. This is the problem with models, by the way. Look, it's trying to show 16 inches in Campbellsville. That's not going to happen. Just for those of you that may live in Campbellsville, like my dad that's in here, this model's trying to show 16 inches down there. It's not going to happen. And it tries to show all kinds of snow for all the portions of the state. I don't think that's going to happen either. Let's look at the freezing rain. Yeah, right. Okay, we're not going to pay attention to this model. All right. So again, just want to kind of look at that. So again, there's our ice total, and I'll get to some of your questions now at this point. All right, Chelsea on YouTube, thank you for your $1.99. I appreciate your donation there. Christy, Timmy, and Christy again, thank you for your star donations on Facebook. Brittany, Ingrid, Carolyn, thank you for your star donations on Facebook as well. I know my dad sent some stars. Thank you for your star donations, Dad. I appreciate you. I'm trying to see. I think I'm make sure I didn't miss anything else. Probably missed out some notifications. But thank you guys for all the likes and the shares on the broadcast too. We appreciate it. Renji on YouTube asked, would the sleet cut the ice totals down? It absolutely would. So a lot of people don't know this, but there is a difference between sleet and ice. Okay, yes, sleet is technically ice, but it's a more crystallized version, almost a more rocky version. It would actually offer, in the middle of a winter storm, it would actually offer a little bit of traction to vehicles. Whereas ice is a much more smooth ice. It's the ice that you go get out of your fridge, right? It's very smooth on its outside layers. That's where it gets a lot more slippery for vehicles, right? So there absolutely is a difference. So listen, if we wake up tomorrow, or we go through tomorrow afternoon, and it's just an onslaught of sleet, and we're wrong about the forecast, and you guys want to let me know about it because you guys love to let me know when I'm wrong. It's not often, but you guys love to let me know when I'm wrong, which is fine. That's just the that's the career I picked. All right. If that's the case, I will happily be wrong. I'll pour up a glass of bourbon and I'll be wrong about the ice. Okay, because I would love to end up with just sleet or in snow out of this system rather than the freezing rain. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love for that to happen. Thank you, Dad. Do you think Western Kentucky will see anything at all? I do think Western Kentucky, again, in our forecast there, again, does see, they do have an ice storm warning out for some locations in Western Kentucky. There is a chance at some backside dustings of snow. So, yes, you will get on the action, but you will also get in on more of the warm air and the rain. Mistakes are okay, Titan. I appreciate that. And I wish everyone else was like that, but you guys would be surprised at the amount of mean messages that I get. Even when I am right. It's absolutely crazy. I do want to take a moment here before I get to more of your questions and just to give a real quick thank you to our sponsors because we appreciate them so much. Without our sponsors, guys, we wouldn't be able to be here for you. So, that said, I do want to roll a video real quick from... Now, we'll skip the video because I just want to let you know real quickly. Right Implement still has winter supplies in stock. So, I know I went to Walmart, a couple gas stations yesterday. I couldn't find any ice melt or salt. At Right Implement, they should still have that stuff in stock. And they have also other winter equipment in stock. They have over 15 locations across Kentucky. Go shop at Right Implement. Support a business that supports us. FBI Buildings has over half a century of experience in renovating, remodeling, and rebuilding any residential and commercial buildings. They also can give your pole barns new life. If any disaster does hit, be sure to go to FBIbuildings.com for a free quote. And finally, Digital Solutions in Radcliffe, Kentucky is a family-owned tech shop. Be sure to repair or purchase any tech device from them and keep your business local. Thank you to Kayla and her team for supporting us at W&K. We appreciate them a ton. And of course, you guys know, download that WeatherWise app. WeatherWise.app is the website for that. What is the percentage that you think Owensboro is going to lose power? I hate doing that. I hate doing that. See, you guys are asking me to be a genie at that point. I'm not a genie. I wish I was, but I think we're definitely looking at widespread power outages, especially north of the parkways. Down toward Bowling Green, Hopkinsville, Paducah, Harlan, Somerset, you will see some impacts down in that southern portion of the state, but it won't be. You're not going to be stuck in your houses. You're not going to be widespread power outages. That will probably be more saved for north of the parkways. For those of you that, by the way, because we say north of the parkways a lot, for those of you that may not know, the parkways are, I'm going to kind of just draw a really rough line here. Make sure you guys can see it on the broadcast real quickly. I'm just going to kind of draw a really rough line here. Basically, parkways kind of look like this. So as you can kind of see, it almost matches up with the warnings a little bit. So that's kind of, again, it's not going to be perfect. I'm not Bob Ross, guys, all right? I'm also not a geographer. But that's kind of what we're talking about when we say parkways. So parkways would be north of Campbellsville, would be north of Broadhead, would be north of Jackson, would be north of Bowling Green, would be north of Hopkinsville, all right? There we go. Joanna, thank you for your 50 stars. I appreciate you. I always mess up that name. Thank you for 100 stars. I appreciate that. Casey with the 20, Madison with the 20 stars. Thank you so much for your stars. I appreciate you. Everyone else that I may have missed, thank you for your star donations as well. Thank you guys for all the shares and likes on the broadcast. Welcome to all the new subscribers on YouTube. We appreciate you for hitting the subscriber thing over there and hitting the bell, turning on notifications. Thank you guys a lot for that. We appreciate you. Yeah, so the thing that really sucks, like Amber just said, we know we're gonna start at snow. We know we're gonna transition to sleet. We know we're gonna transition to freezing rain. We know we're gonna transition to regular rain. So we're gonna warm up. We know we're gonna eventually then crash back down and then switch over to a light snow to maybe even moderate snow for Monday morning. So we got it's almost really cakey at that point. And for a lot of road crews throughout a lot of the portion of the United States, their actual philosophy is to leave that cake on the road because it does offer a little bit of traction. Unfortunately, I'm not saying everyone, of course, but a lot of the road crews in our state prefer to melt that cake. All right, and when that happens, it then refreezes as a slick, smooth surface. So I really do feel bad for our road crews and our emergency managers who are going to have to make those calls. Um, Again, a lot of the folks in northern portions of the United States, you ask them, they would actually leave that cake on the road. A lot of the people in the South, since we don't deal with it as much, tend to not know as much and tend to melt that cake and then refreeze it as a nice layer of ice. Um, Again, I'm not going to fault them either way because it's not my call. I don't want to be the one that makes that call. I would just say it's not going to be pretty. And my advice to you guys is to help our emergency folks out, help our road crews out, stay off the roads. The more we get in their way, the more we cause wrecks, the more we get in their way, the longer this stuff takes. A lot of people don't realize that. We got to stay off the roads for them, stay out of their way, do whatever we can to help them out, right? And just be safe, be smart, right? Maybe don't go to the gas station for that candy bar. Maybe don't go to McDonald's for that cheapest burger. Maybe don't put a DoorDash order in, right? Maybe like stock up beforehand. You know, at worst comes to worst, say you go to Walmart and you stock up on a bunch of stuff, right? Worst comes to worst, if nothing happens, you don't gotta go to Walmart for a while. You know, so stay inside. Just you know that you know. Eh, I hate seeing every time, and it's inevitable. There's going to be people that do it. But when we get those little Toyota Corollas and we get those little Honda Civics and we get those little bitty cars on the road, especially when it comes to ice and snow, and they spin out and they get in the ditch and they do all this stuff, and now the people that might need real medical attention are a bit delayed. You know, I hate this. I hate to see it every time. I hate to see it every time. And I tell you, our folks in the emergency offices, we've been talking to them in Hardin County, LaRue County, Meade County, Jefferson County, Fayette County, Warren County. We've been in touch with a lot of EMS offices around the state, and they have great plans in place. But they can't do that if they're constantly having to stop and help people that just can't stay in their house for a day or two. You know, I hate it too. But throw on some movies. There's great Netflix shows out right now. You can watch all of our YouTube videos once again and help our ad revenue out if you want. I don't know. I don't know. But they're just kind of think about being a little more selfless this event. I'm not saying you all do this, so this doesn't apply to everybody, but just those people that think that their cars can do it. Even your big boy, bad, loud trucks, they're going to spin out on the ice. So there's a reason. There is a reason that when we get ice on the ground, the plow trucks don't go anywhere. So your Ford F-250s shouldn't go anywhere either. So Mary, thank you for the question. Says, do you think Taylor County will lose power? Sorry for, and then the comment cuts off. Again, I don't ever like to forecast power outages for specific counties. I would just say there is a chance for power outages to be scattered across the state. So for those of you asking about specific locations, we have all kinds of locations on this map here. The timing is generally the same for everybody. About a 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. start time on Sunday morning, and then about a 1 to 5 p.m. time frame in time on Monday. So timing is pretty much generally the same for everybody. The amounts are on the screen for snow. I'm going to put the amounts on the screen for ice now. All I can ask is that you find your location. Because again, if we sit here answering specific locations on amounts, and it's generally all the same. And then the only difference is amount depending upon where you live. Yeah, Jeffrey, ice map's on the screen now. Chelsea says, Georgia's saying just use your common sense for God's sake. Yeah, and and it's not a lot of fault of a lot of folks, especially if they haven't gone through ice systems before. If they haven't gone through systems like this before, they're not going to know any better. But it's my job to try and be as clear as possible with telling you you're not going to want to be on this thing. We've urged a lot of folks to go ahead and close down for Monday. You know, when it comes to schools, I don't tell schools what to do. But there are a couple friends that I have that own businesses and do other private things that we've urged them to just have their folks work from home if they can. If you can go without working a day or two, do that as well. Robert, yeah, with systems like this, they're always going to wiggle back and forth till they actually get here. Again, all locations are on the map. You can find it there for your information. They've already closed Fortnite for Monday. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Again, it's just way better to be safe than sorry, guys. Let's say nothing happens, you get a free day off work at that point. And again, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're absolutely looking at an impactful event. But again, what is the worst that could happen from staying home for a day or two? You know, Lori says days like this it's good to be retired. There you go. Yeah, and that's a good point, Whitney. I should talk about that as well. If you are on the absolutely have to, if you do absolutely have to be on the roads in a situation like this where we do see ice and snow, the recommendation is that you reduce your speed by 80%, not 50%. 50% is for snowfall. 80% in situations like this. So, for example, in a 25-mile-per-hour zone, you should probably only, can't do the math off the top of my head, but I'm guessing it's around 8 miles per hour. All right. And even then, you're probably going a little bit too fast. If you can't see the map, Joanna, all the maps are on our pages as well, on our Facebook and Twitter. And you can open up the picture of the map on our Facebook or Twitter, and you can actually zoom in. So, really, really cool stuff there. Is a state of emergency going to be declared? I do not tell the governor what to do. All I can say is that it's on the table. I'm sure. I'm sure they've already discussed it. What's the time frame for it to start? Anywhere between 5 to 9 a.m. on Sunday. How difficult do you think power restoration will be considering these conditions? Jennifer, if ice does get on the ground, well, power restoration at that point becomes very tricky because then plows and salt trucks can't get on the road as well, and they can't make room for those guys to get, or those guys and girls to get to the poles and to get them to be repaired, right? So it becomes a very tricky situation. Renji, I think it's a combination of the two. What you're seeing here, guys, for those of you that like to watch models and stuff, is you're seeing a classic battle of warm bias models versus cold bias models. This is why you see the GFS, the rapid refresh, and the UK Met or the GFS rapid refresh and the NAM showing one thing, and this is why you see the Euro UK Met and the RDPS model showing a different thing. But those three are very similar, and then these three are very similar, right? So it's a classic cold versus warm battle. The real answer to that, Renji, is we're not going to know until the morning of and the afternoon. We have to constantly sample the air above our heads. It's going to come down to the air above our heads. At the surface, will mostly be below freezing. It's going to come down to the air above our heads. In your opinion, is this on track to be as bad as the 2009 ice storm? No, Toya. I do think it's one of the most impactful events since the 2009 ice storm. Do I think it's going to be as bad as the '09 ice storm? No, I do not think so. Again, with that ice storm, guys, I've said it a lot the last few days. That ice storm, people were we here specifically in our home. My grandparents couldn't get back to their house here in Radcliffe for 5 weeks. I don't think we're looking at that. I think a lot of people forget that because it's been about 15 years now. We sometimes forget some of the smaller details in that event. But that event it took a lot of folks throughout a major portion of Kentucky at least 2 to 3 weeks to get back to their homes, right? Or to get power back to their homes or to get their homes up and running. I don't think we're looking at that length, but we absolutely could have some folks in a similar situation for 2 to 3 days. But 2 to 3 days is one thing. 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 weeks is a whole different thing. I don't think, Toya, and I really hope that in our lifetimes we will never see a 2009 ice storm again. Paducah had 2 inches of ice. E-Town had an inch and a half of ice. Lexington had an inch of ice. I mean, that is a lot of ice. Not only that, but absolutely crippling temperatures took place during the event and just after the event. And it was disgustingly bad. Are you going to be live during the storm, Joey? Oh, absolutely. I'm sure I'll be live multiple times Sunday, Monday. Really cool thing tonight, guys. I forgot to mention until just now. We're going to have a broadcast at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be hosting the emergency director here at Hardin County and kind of asking him some questions on what we can do to help them out, what we can do to, or what their kind of their processes are. And I know he just covers Hardin County, but a lot of these counties in our state do similar things. So even though he's just from Hardin County, I think everyone from the state should tune in and listen and kind of learn about what their processes are, kind of learn about how we can help them. When we learn a little bit about something, we can help out a little bit more. So I think it would be a really great thing to tune in tonight. We'll try to be live on both Facebook and YouTube. We'll see what we can do to set that up. KY, I just broke that down. Hopefully you listen to that. That's correct, Chelsea. Winds will be gusting up to 20 to 30 mile per hour after the storm, and that does also create some other issues. If you get some ice sitting on trees, if you get some ice sitting on power lines, those winds coming through will help to try to blow those things over. So it's not a very pretty sight. How do you think roadways will be in northern Kentucky Monday evening, Tuesday morning? They will absolutely be shut down in northern Kentucky. You will not be going anywhere. I'm being induced on Tuesday. I would see if you can get there now. I know that sucks. I know I went through the same thing. It's a very sensitive process with my wife, um, but you absolutely will either need to get to the hospital before the event or after the event. I mean, Monday and Tuesday, Monday evening and Tuesday, that's going to be probably quite literally the worst time to be on the roads. It's not going to be pretty if you're in northern Kentucky, like you said. Now that doesn't apply to all of Kentucky. She was just asking a question about northern Kentucky. What are your thoughts on universities closing? Again, I don't make those decisions. I just answer their questions when they ask. But I do think it's absolutely possible, especially for a place in Lexington. If you're talking about UK or something like that, there, I think you're absolutely looking at possible closures, especially for Monday and maybe even beyond. Christian, I don't expect them changing too much. I'm gonna wait and see what some of the data this afternoon says. At this time, I don't anticipate it changing too much. Just maybe some refining, if you will. Did my internet just go out? My YouTube chat just went down. Oh no, there we go. That scared the crap out of me. Yeah, Kayla, I hope I'm saying that correctly, or Kala, I don't know. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but that's just how it goes sometimes when you're dealing with events like this. You're going to have multiple shades in one county. Awesome, KY, thank you. Yeah, DJ, and the more south you go, so DJ, once you get to like Southern Kentucky, Tennessee area, DJ, you're gonna be fine. Once you basically get out of the state, you'll be fine. I would definitely, head out early if you're leaving early tomorrow morning. Um, we got about 2.5 hour drive until you get to the southern portion of Kentucky. I'd probably head out no later than 4:30 just to make sure that you're beating everything, and getting out of here. But yeah, once you go south, you're more so dealing with strong thunderstorms, not necessarily winter weather. Tammy, I appreciate that. All right, I think we've done enough at this point with getting things answered here. Again, we have our forecast on the page. We have our forecast here. Do not listen to your weather apps on this event. They're not going to be accurate. Nothing close. All right. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank you for all the shares and likes on the broadcast on Facebook, on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. Thank you for ringing the bell, so on and so forth. We'll be back tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for an update from the Hardin County Government Center on what the emergency preparations are for this event in Hardin County and throughout other portions of the state. Until then, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with WNK. Stay safe, Kentucky.